Good evening, 9 o'clock on the east coast of Australia. It is, as we speak, when the sun starts to rise in Washington, D.C., when we will start to hear again from the President of the United States, who has had plenty to say on his social media platforms, as well as a lot of action which is happening in and around the Middle East, where it is 2 o'clock right now in Israel, where bombs from Iran have been landing. Despite the Iron Dome, some have made it through. Some of the explosions pretty significant. Thankfully, as we discussed last night on the program, adequate warning means most people end up in a bomb shelter. Let's focus on Iran, though, because there is a fair bit happening there right now. In fact, in the past hour, there has been major operations, and I'll tell you some of the targets that have been hit. The local time there is 1:30 in the afternoon. We've also got an idea of what is happening in Europe with the bosses of the International Atomic Energy Authority. Those people, on the behalf of the United Nations, have actually got some indication about what damage has been done in the past couple of days. We'll get to that in a moment or two's time. And the Iranians are meeting in Moscow, hoping for some help from Vladimir Putin. A former Russian Prime Minister and Russian President has actually had plenty to say on top of what might come out of that conversation. So let me bring you up to date. A lot has happened even in the past couple of hours. Now, put simply, the reason I tell you all of those times is prime time on Sky News, and certainly towards this time of prime time is when you're going to start to hear stuff out of the United States. We seem to be right at the height of when things happen during the daytime in the Middle East. And as I said, you can start to look your way around the globe. So regardless of what you may hear in the morning, which will be a form of an update, if you are interested in following every little move of this thing, make sure you're checking in with Sky News Primetime again at the top of each show for the next few days. I'll try to tell you what has happened in the past couple of hours, not just react to what has happened in the past 24 hours. Okay, so let's get on with this. So as we speak, the United Nations and via their weapons inspectors are now starting to give us a little bit of an insight into how much damage was done by the American hit on Iran. Now, you know, the past 24, 36 hours, there's been great claims made by the President of the United States and military officials that of the 3 different sites that they hit, there has been significant damage done to the Iranian nuclear operation. The Iranians said that because they feared that things were coming, some of these sites may well have been emptied out. So there's a lot of bluster, there's a lot of BS, there's a lot of sizzle, but there's also a lot of stake when it comes to this story. So again, I'll try to explain things and try to keep an eye on lots of moving parts here. So let's have a look here at the announcement which was made by the essentially United Nations and their weapons inspectors. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to play this for you because the 3 main sites, including, of course, the one that was underground and the 2 other sites, all hit within that extraordinary hour or so in the middle of the night, about between 2 and 3 a.m. local time in Iran. Well, remember, we had to wait a couple of days to find out what the battle damage assessments were going to be. The Americans are expected to give us another insight into that perhaps as early as the next couple of hours, but in a midpoint between the early announcements, the bluster that may well have come out of America about how decisive this is, well, what is actually happening, and is there any fallout? Because obviously if you're hitting enriched uranium, the possibility for poisons to make it into the air and winds to move it around local populations becomes an issue. But here's literally fresh off the press what's just been said by the UN.
At this time, no one, including the IEA, is in a position to have fully assessed the underground damage at Fordow. Given the explosive payload utilized and the extreme vibration-sensitive nature of centrifuges, very significant damage is expected to have occurred. At the Isfahan nuclear site, additional buildings were hit, with the US confirming their use of cruise missiles. Affected buildings include some related to the uranium conversion process. Also, at this site, entrances to tunnels used for the storage of enriched material appear to have been hit. At the Natanz enrichment site, the fuel enrichment plant was hit, with the US confirming that it used ground-penetrating munitions.
So at this stage, there seems to be significant damage. Remember, the president was saying that it was a bullseye here, total annihilation. The Iranians have said, yes, thanks for the effort, there is some damage, but we may well have other facilities in other places. Again, where the truth lies, it does take a couple of days to get there. And the reason we didn't show you last night, and I've held off showing you some of those satellite images, was because they simply weren't detailed enough. And again, I know there's a lot on social media, I know there's a lot on clickbait media, but we do our best to verify as much as possible to pull it all together for you at the end of the night, which we'll be doing for the next couple of days.